lights, camera, action, let's go. I don't know what that intro was. I don't know, I just felt like doing that. Anyways, what's going on? This is Ari here. Today I have a bit of a different video. I thought, since today is, the very last day of 2018 at the time that I'm going live, you may be watching this on a replay, whether it's, replay on here, or you could be watching it on my YouTube channel, which I'm now uploading. All these Facebook Lives that I'm doing, I'm now also uploading them to my YouTube channel. But, I figured since that, 2018 is coming to an end and 29 is, just around the corner, I figured I would come on here and kind of talk about why, I believe, for me, this is like more of, a personal vlog about why 2018 was probably, my most important year so far, especially, in terms of entrepreneurship. I figured I would, kind of talk about my my experience, or my, I guess you could say my entrepreneurship journey throughout 2018. What's up, Baron? Just seeing you tuned in. And, I figured I would, talk about, how my journey's been and some of the things I've learned along the way, and maybe some things that I have struggled with or I could, possibly improve upon. Thanks for the hearts, by the way. I just seen that. But anyways, typically I talk about, mindset stuff or, online marketing strategies or stuff like that. Happy New Year, Baron. Anyways, but I thought, today I would just, kind of do a personal, let me get this closer here. There we go. I thought I'd just, kind of do a personal vlog and kind of share why I believe 2018 was my most important year, as well as, some things I've learned along the way and how I could, improve along the way as well. Anyways, before I really get into things, if you are tuning into this live, be sure to let me know who you are and where you are watching from. Baron, I see you're tuning in now, but if you're watching this on a replay, be sure to put a hashtag replay down in the comments, or if you're seeing this on my YouTube channel, be sure to, hit replay in the comments as well. Anyways, probably, I guess the best thing for me to start with, actually, I'd say probably the biggest change I made 2018 is I decided to start recording all of my, pretty much every day in a journal. That's probably the biggest change I made. And I initially got this idea, well, actually, I got involved into entrepreneurship around, May of 2017. That was when I decided that, I started hearing about all this, about, this laptop lifestyle and all these people being able to, work on their own time and travel the world. And I decided, what, that is exactly what I've always wanted. And, I decided at that point I was going to start looking more into it, and I was going to start getting into it. And kind of near the end of 2017, I was watching a video of, I don't remember which one it was, but it was some sort of like webinar or something like that, where someone was talking about how, a lot of really successful and like, famous, well-known names, like I know Albert Einstein, a bunch of other names, Thomas Edison I think was another one. A lot of these, really big names throughout, early on in their career, or whatever it was that they were going for, before they became famous, they had a personal journal that they would, write in every single day. They would, write down their ideas, their goals, some things that they could improve upon, all that stuff. They would, have a daily journal that they would write in, and, I started hearing about that, and I thought, well, if I really want to become an entrepreneur and I want to, really live this lifestyle, I should probably, really take it seriously and start, have a journal and then kind of, write in it, daily. So that's exactly what I did. I decided that, in 2018, I'm going to start recording every single day. So every single day throughout that year, I was going to start, jotting down everything that I got down each particular day, and then I would talk about, what are some things that I could do, the next day, or what are some things I could have done better that day, what are some things I can improve upon, what are my long-term goals, all that type of stuff. I decided that I was going to start doing that on a daily basis. So that's exactly what I did, and it's kind of interesting actually, like going through this and like looking back at some of the things that I wrote nearly a year ago actually. So like first page on here, I wrote like starting tomorrow, I'm going to start doing these things. And, it's quite interesting. Things have changed quite a bit. I'll kind of talk a bit about my experience to start off with, my entrepreneurship journey in general. I'd say mainly through going through this. So not many people know this actually, but my very first online business that I've ever started, and I've jumped around quite a bit. It's probably one of the biggest mistakes that I made very early on, and it's one of the most common mistakes for entrepreneurship in general. But the very first online business that I ever had actually was it was actually a website that doesn't even exist anymore. It was like this website where I used to like review video games or something like that, and I had this. I was like essentially like promoting specific games as like an affiliate, like games, like on like PS4, Xbox One. I was essentially like writing about these games because it was something that I previously enjoyed spending a lot of time on, a lot of my free time. Throughout my high school days, I used to spend all this time playing video games, and I thought, well, if I'm going to start an online business, I'm going to, do it through my passion. I'm just going to, promote these games on, like Amazon or eBay and stuff like that. And that site existed for almost a full year, actually. I started it back in June of 2017. And I was, working on that fairly consistently. I was getting, new articles out like 3 times a week. They were all like, 1,000 words each. Greetings from Turkey. I didn't know you were from there. That's quite interesting, actually. But yeah, I was, putting out these articles fairly consistently. And I was, I even have it, like kind of written down in here. The name of the site, actually, it doesn't exist anymore. It was called Gamesave.com. That was my very first online business that I ever had, and it was well, it doesn't exist now. You could probably find it if you go on a site called like waybackmachine.com or something, and if you type in game-save.com and you go back far enough, you could probably find it on there. I've actually looked for it on there, and I did manage to find it at one point. So you might be able to find it on there if you want to look for it and you want to actually get like a bit of a hint at what I was doing in my early days. You could actually go on that site and you could actually look at the what the site actually looked like. But yeah, quite interesting stuff actually. So I was working on that for my first few months in 2018, and as I was going along, I was I'll just be completely honest right here. I was not, throughout that entire year of building that website, I did not generate a single commission. Did not make any money whatsoever, but I was going into it hoping that, eventually I could hopefully make a full-time income by doing that, just by, writing about video games and all that stuff. But I eventually kind of, was thinking to myself often that if I just focused on this, that I could, that I could just make a full-time income from it. But it turned out it wasn't really the case, and it kind of flopped, actually, to be honest. I was working on that for quite a bit, and as I was going along with that, I was constantly, I had the shiny object syndrome, where I was constantly looking for all these other methods of making money online, and I was looking at online jobs. I was doing some freelancing stuff, which I actually did make quite a good side income from. I was going into all these different courses, all these online marketing business opportunities. I was doing network marketing. I think I almost even got into drop shipping at one point, but then I guess I didn't. But anyways, yeah, I was working on this gaming site for, I'd say, the first 4 months or so of 2018. And I guess it was around April or something like that, sometime around April 2018, as I was writing, one of the articles for like my next review that was coming out, I just kind of thought to myself, you know what, do I really want to do this? Like, is this really the business model that I want to go for? Is this really what I want to do in the long term? And, at that point, it had been nearly a full year of me putting up these articles, hoping that I was going to get a full-time income from. And, nearly after a full year, I actually did not get any commissions at all, and I just kind of decided, you know what, maybe it's time that I just move on from this. Because, you know, here's the thing, while it is important to stay consistent with one thing that you really believe in, there also, I believe, comes a point where, you know, if you know, aren't feeling passionate about it, you don't really feel excited about what it is that you're doing, and you don't really see it working out in the long run, it's kind of like, well, what's the point? So that was kind of something that I was actually debating on for quite a while, and then finally, around April of 2018, I kind of decided, you know what, I'm going to put this off, and I'm going to just move on to something else. So at the same time, when I did that, I kind of, you know, took a break from entrepreneurship in general. I kind of took the next, you know, 2 weeks off or something like that. Maybe, I think it may have even been 3 weeks, where I kind of just went back to who I was before getting into entrepreneurship, because I was just, at that point, I was just kind of burnt out, and I just kind of decided, you know, I need to take some time off to kind of rethink things. And but anyways, you know, a few weeks after that, I started, you know, getting back more into it, and I decided, you know what, I found a specific business opportunity that I thought, you know, it looked simple enough, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to stick to this. I'm going to stick to just doing this one thing, and I'm going to just stick to learning how to actually market online and actually influencing people to, you know, to actually, you know, buy into whatever it is that I'm promoting. Because, you know, at the end of the day, here's what it comes down to. Regardless of what, and I'd say this mainly goes for anyone that's into online marketing, affiliate marketing, network marketing, even if, you know, whatever brand you're building up online, you know, on social media, or if you're building up a website, you know, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what course or what business opportunity you are in. It doesn't matter what products you have, because at the end of the day, you know, if you aren't willing to take the time to learn how to actually market and influence people to buy, then it doesn't matter what product you have or what income opportunity you have, because there's, you know, thousands of other people that, you know, are promoting your exact same products. And, you know, if you go through it thinking that, you know, if you know, are just looking for, you know, the best system or the best product that's going to, you know, get lots of buyers in, then, you know, it's really not going to, you know, help you in the long run. And that was something that, in my case, I had a very hard time admitting for quite a long time. For almost, you know, a full year, I was just constantly jumping from one business to the next, hoping to find the right thing. And this, for me, it just led me into buying all these different courses and joining all these different business opportunities, hoping that I would just, you know, find the right one. And, you know, if I find the right one, then I could just, you know, I can make a full-time income, and I can just do this full-time and, you know, work wherever and whenever. And, you know, I just found that just wasn't the case. It's not so much about the system, because if there are tons of other members that are, you know, actually getting results in your same company, and you're there just, you know, you join it for a week or something, and then you claim that it didn't work or whatever, you know, it just, you kind of have to look at it from the perspective of not just your experience, but, you know, other members' experiences as well. So that's really the thing that I, you know, had a hard time admitting. But kind of around, I'd say, June of 2018, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to focus on one thing. I'm going to focus on, you know, online marketing, and I was just going to focus on actually learning how to, you know, learning new things, and essentially, at the end of the day, implementing strategies that could help me with, you know, marketing my business online, marketing my products, and ultimately influencing people to actually, you know, make a decision to join an opportunity or buy a product. And that's really what it's all about. If you could learn that strategy, if you could actually learn how to market online and, you know, influence people to, you know, make a decision, then, you know, regardless of what, you know, business you're in, you know, you can get results, you know what I mean? So it's like, it really all comes down to actually learning how to market. It's never so much about the actual company you're in or the products. What's up, Bruce? Did the company not work, or does the person not work? I think, generally speaking, it's, you know, it's always, you know, not so much a matter of if the company works or not, but it's always, because, at the end of the day, they cannot, guarantee that you're going to make results. It's all about the actual work that you put into it. And for quite a while, I had a hard time admitting that, and I thought that if I just find the right one, that I could just, get full-time income right away. But I later realized, what? If I want to see long-term results, I have to be willing to stick with something long-term. And, eventually I decided that's what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to focus on this one thing. So, I'd say near, I want to say June of 2018, I decided to start, actually learning the skills necessary. So I started going through a course, and I decided that I was going to stick with it long term. So essentially what I started doing, actually, and this was in the business opportunity that I'm currently still in, I decided, I was going to start learning how to actually prospect one-on-one, and I was going to start learning how to, focus on, building up relationships with people and learning how to actually influence them and actually help them with, making a decision or helping them with getting to where they want to be. So I decided I was going to start, focusing on that on a consistent basis. And, I decided I started going through the course, and I started implementing what was told. So I started, essentially what I was doing is that I went on all these different, make money online / work from home groups. If you've seen any of those, you know that they're just nothing but complete spammers in there that are just constantly spamming out their links saying, hey, if you buy this course here, if you buy my product, you're gonna make, $10K in the next 3 days or something. You got all these people, flexing their money. It's probably, they're probably just like, doing it just to try and, lure people. I mean, that's really what it is, really. Let's just be completely honest. But, essentially I was going on those groups, and I wasn't necessarily making up, any false income. I wasn't doing any of that stuff, but what I was doing, and I think this is another big mistake I made, is that I was spending all this time with, prospecting one-on-one, people in those groups, and I was essentially, kind of just, asking them a bunch of questions. What is it that you do? What is it? How long you been doing that? Oh, that's cool. What is it that you hope to do? And I would just kind of see if they'd be a good fit. And what I personally found was that, for one, I faced a lot of rejection. I was constantly getting, tons of messages saying, like, is this thing a scam? Is it legit or whatever? Like, is it, and, obviously I had a few people from time to time asking, hey, how much have you made with this? And then, of course, I'd be like, I just didn't know how to answer that because I was just getting started. And, but anyways, yeah, I was constantly doing that for a few months. And then after a while, I kind of started to get kind of, burnt out with it because I just couldn't seem to, while it did seem like I was doing everything that was in the training, I just couldn't seem to really get any results. I don't know what it was, but I just couldn't seem to actually influence people to actually, join the opportunity. I guess a part of it, I'd say for the most part, had to do with the amount of additional value, or I guess so the lack of additional value that I was providing. I was just kind of, showing the generic presentation to everyone, kind of just, the business alone, and just kind of hoping that if I show that to enough people that, eventually someone's going to end up buying. It's all about going through the no's, and eventually you'll get to the yes. You'll get to the yes, the one person that is interested, and you just got to spend lots of time doing that. But eventually I got kind of, I got kind of, burnt out with that, and I kind of, slowed down after a while. I kind of started, responding to messages less. And the, I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but for me personally, when I, like, if you've ever done the prospecting one-on-one thing, and, you've, reached out to a bunch of people on Facebook groups or stuff like that, and, you tried to, recruit using that old school method, one of the things that, oftentimes, obviously not everyone would respond right away, but then after, as time progressed, I'd get, a whole bunch of, messages as as time progressed, and I'd get, a whole bunch of people saying like, oh yeah, they would, kind of respond back. And oftentimes, when I'd see, like any more than 5 messages that I got to respond to, I'd be like, oh, and I just think, like, damn, do I really gotta respond to all this and go through even more rejection and just kind of exhaust myself more? And keep in mind, I was also, quite busy at this point. I was not full-time. I did have a part-time job, and, I was, doing that as well. So obviously I couldn't spend hours talking to all these people because, of course, I had to spend some time actually at the job as well. So I was constantly thinking to myself, like, do I really feel like, doing all this? And at this point, I was ready to just kind of quit right then and there. I was so ready to just throw in the towel and then move on to something else, because I didn't really like the idea of, prospecting one-on-one and having to, feeling like I have to like convince someone almost to like just buy something. It just kind of feels, it just doesn't feel right. I'd rather have someone join something or buy something from me, or whatever the case may be, because they wanted to, not because I went out there and told them to or something like that. So essentially, I was about ready to quit, and then what I ended up discovering was a training platform that showed you how to start marketing your business online and using strategies that allowed you to attract people to you rather than having to go out there and prospect one-on-one. Now, this to me sounded much better because, rather than wasting all this time, with trying to build up trust and, do all this, one-on-one stuff, which was very time-consuming also. Rather than doing all that, I could then focus on building up a brand and putting out value out there so that others wanted to, actually, wanted to work with me rather than, feeling that they're convinced into. And I also felt that, not only is this, great in the long run because, for one, I heard it's much more enjoyable, this method, and also it essentially separates you from, the majority of people promoting your same products or your same opportunity. Let me read this comment real quick. Try changing the word prospect with people who I want to help next. People don't like to be anyone's change of language, which I think that's a great tip, actually. I'll admit there, I think that is a great point that you just made, actually. But anyways, yeah, I started learning about that, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to start learning this instead, and I'm going to start learning how to actually, brand myself and start putting out valuable content out there on a consistent basis. And that's kind of where, almost where these live videos that I do fairly consistently now, that's kind of where this all started. Was I started learning more about, attraction marketing and, putting out value out there so that others want to actually work with you as opposed to anyone else promoting your same company, is being able to go out there and put out valuable information that people are looking for. So I started doing that, and then I decided, you know what, I'm gonna stick with this. So while I'm not exactly, 100%, with where I'm not, okay, I'll say this, I'm not entirely full-time yet, I'll just say that, but I essentially decided that right then and there I was gonna focus more so on building up my brand and learning how to actually market online, learning how to do paid ads. And this, for me, I felt was a much better way of going about it. It was much more, I'd say, much more enjoyable for me because I wasn't going out there and, I mean, don't get me wrong, I still do, one-on-one messaging every now and then, but it's not nearly as much as I did before, because now I feel like it's more important for me to actually focus on learning how to essentially, put out value out there and influence an audience of people rather than having to do the one-on-one. So anyways, that's kind of my experience so far, is that, from that point on to now, kind of the end of 2018, that's kind of what I've been focusing on. And I think it was kind of around, I want to say August or September was when I decided to start learning more about this attraction marketing stuff, and I feel like it's, you know, really definitely something to learn about. There is, you know, actually putting out value, and yeah, you definitely have to create value on a consistent basis, and that's really what you know, influences people more than anything, and, you know, getting others to actually want to work with you more than anything. You know, many people, they think that if they just have, you know, the right product or the right opportunity, that, you know, people are going to want to join their thing. But, you know, if there's tons of other people promoting the same thing, and it's, you kind of have to ask yourself, like, what is it that separates you from everyone else promoting your same company? And that's something that, you know, I wasn't really thinking about much, but I decided, yeah, that's what I'm going to focus on. So from that point on to, you know, to now, that's pretty much what I've been doing, is, you know, experimenting with different, you know, types of ads. I've been focusing more on creating content. I've been really focusing on my brand, which I felt that I definitely should have been focusing more on the beginning. But anyways, that's really kind of how my 2018 has been so far. It's been quite an interesting year, and I feel like it's definitely my most important year, because I feel like this was the year that I decided to really, you know, really take things seriously, and I decided, you know what, if I'm going to have this lifestyle, I better really go in, like, and take it, you know, really seriously, and actually fully commit to this, and not just kind of do it, you know, as a hobby and just kind of like, yeah, whatever, but, you know, actually fully commit and do, you know, and actually write down, you know, daily objectives, you know, for me to do it each day, and then actually, you know, learn from it that way. But that's really how my 2018 has been. I'd also like to talk about, you know, some of my struggles along the way. I do have some notes down here if you see me looking down, actually. I figured I'd, you know, go through some of this a bit. So the 3 things that I probably struggled with the most, actually. For one, I did procrastinate quite often. You know, anyone who knows me well enough knows that I tend to be I tend to be very good at putting things off often, because oftentimes I just, you know, sometimes, even when it comes to, like, doing these videos, there were quite a few times where I, you know, thought to myself, man, like, I don't feel like doing it. I just kind of feel like, you know, sitting back and, you know, relaxing, and that's kind of one of the things that I did quite often. And oftentimes I would even kind of, like, admit it myself. So I mean, I think being self-aware is definitely important. If you can actually, like, admit that, like, hey, this is something I need to fix, you know, that's definitely something to really take note of. So I was, you know, listing that as, you know, what could I have done better, you know, when I would write in my journal every night, and then but then ultimately it is still something that I definitely need to improve upon, is not putting things off so much, and not, but I think part of it is actually because of another thing that I struggled, which actually, you know, brings me into my next thing, is overthinking things. And, you know, oftentimes I would, you know, tend to overthink, you know, things, like, in terms of, like, you know, like, is this actually going to work out, or, you know, like, what if I do this and it doesn't get results right away, or, you know, if I got a specific thing done and, you know, say it didn't turn out exactly the way how I wanted it to, or, you know, I didn't do a certain thing as well enough, or I didn't get as much things done in a day as I wanted to, I would often overthink, and it would kind of cause me to, you know, kind of become a bit depressed, and I would often stress out about it. And, you know, I think that's definitely something that I, you know, struggle with along the way. But I'd say probably the thing I struggled with the most, and I'd say this is mainly for the first half of 2018, I was oftentimes just inconsistent. I really wasn't, you know, consistent in a particular direction, and I feel that if I would have spent, you know, this whole year just kind of focused on one thing rather than jumping from one thing to the next, I definitely would, I feel like it would have been much better. But, you know, I think one of the biggest mistakes that many entrepreneurs make early on is that, you know, they constantly hop around, you know, the shiny object syndrome thing. So I definitely struggled with that quite a bit. But now I want to talk about, you know, what are some of the things I've learned and what I will be improving upon in 2019. So very first thing that I learned is, of course, stick with one course and master the skills that they have taught before jumping onto the next thing. So many people, they have a hard time admitting that, you know, it's them that's the problem and not, you know, the actual course, you know. And for quite a while, I was kind of thinking that, you know, if I just find the right one, that eventually I'll have, you know, I'll just find the easiest way to make a full-time income, and that's just not the way of going about it. So that's something that I've definitely learned there. And second is, you know, overthink things less. Don't stress about over things that I didn't fully complete or didn't do so well. I mean, let's just be honest, you know, we're not perfect here. We all make mistakes. Oftentimes, you know, I'll be honest, I'd say majority of days, I would, you know, have a list of things that I wanted to get done, and oftentimes I just wouldn't get every single thing on my list done. And, you know, whether it was because of, you know, procrastinating, or if something else got in the way, you know, whether it be, you know, working or something like that, I would often kind of get, you know, discouraged. And that was something that kind of, I felt was something that I could definitely improve upon, because I felt like, you know, overthinking that a bit kind of makes it worse, actually, when you think about it, because when you overthink it and then you're constantly thinking, man, if only I got that other thing done, or if only I got these things done, now I'm behind, then it almost kind of creates like a negative momentum, where it's like you kind of keep progressively getting less done each day if you kind of just keep overthinking that. So I think it's, you know, I probably shouldn't have stressed out over that so much, and I probably should have just kind of, you know, remained positive. And if I didn't get everything done, then, you know what, I just say, you know what, I'm just going to do better the next day. And that's really, I want to read your comment here, Bruce. Hold on. It's not perfection we should strive for, but progress. Each day is just focus on getting better at communication skills and presenting. It's not how you start, but how you finish. That is a great point there. And procrastination, it can definitely, it can definitely lead to being overwhelmed. But the third thing actually is, you know, focus more on learning and implementing new things every day. Now, actually, the previous Facebook Live I did, if you haven't seen that, or, you know, previous video, if you're watching this on YouTube later, is why I believe it is important to get out of your comfort zone. And in that video, I talked about why I believe it's very important. I talked about, you know, my reasons as to why you should be trying new things and implementing new things, you know, learning new things in general and implementing new things, you know, on a daily basis. And, you know, I believe that the reason why that's so important is because it allows you to essentially grow more as a person. It allows you to learn more. It allows you to, you know, have more opportunities. And it just, you know, in general, it leads to a much happier life in the long run, is when you could actually stay productive and you decide to, you know, focus more on learning new things and implementing new things on a consistent basis. I'd say generally it leads to a much happier life, and, you know, you just will have less regrets, you know, later on. And, you know, because most people, they go through life and they think, well, you know, at the end of it all, they kind of think, man, if only I, you know, did this, or if only I, you know, did all these things. But instead I just kind of thought, well, it's probably not going to work. And, you know, that's kind of how a lot of people choose to go through their lives. And, you know, for that reason, you know, I'm currently 20 years old right now. I'll be turning 21 this February, and I'm honestly, I am very grateful that I, you know, started learning about this stuff, you know, at this age, because a lot of people, they start, you know, when they're at like a much older age, they kind of look back and they kind of wish that they would have, you know, spent some of their earlier years, you know, doing more and, you know, getting more stuff done. But yeah, I definitely think that, you know, and also it's not, the other thing I want to say is that if you, you know, regardless of, you know, your current position or your current age or your current whatever the case may be, you know, it's never too late to get started on something. You know, it's never too late to actually, you know, start aiming for, you know, something more in life. You know, if you're sick of the position you're in, you know, you could always change it. You know, it's never something that you have to, you know, stick with. You know, if you are unhappy in a job, or if you are, you know, surrounded with people that are just constantly complaining about how much life is shitty and all that stuff, you don't have to be around that all the time. I mean, you always have the option to make things better, and the only person that could actually improve your life is you. It's not about the other people around you. You know, they're not going to make things better. At the end of the day, it's all about what it is that you could do to actually change your life. So that's really, I know this video has been one of my longer videos, and I've talked quite a bunch here. I did ramble on quite a bit. but I feel like it's kind of gone on long enough. But anyways, I figured I'd kind of, close it off here. I don't know how long. I can't exactly see how long this is going on for, but I'll see later on. But I'm gonna go ahead and end this off now. That was my 2018 journey, my struggles along the way, what I've learned, all that stuff. Hopefully you got value out of this. If you found this inspiring, be sure to let me know in the comments. Be sure to let me know what you thought about this. And if you're building a online business and you're looking to start attracting new customers into your into buying whatever it is that you're promoting, and this goes for regardless of what company you're in, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you want to learn how to actually start using attraction marketing to build your business rather than having to do the one-on-one stuff, then I do have a free course you can get access to. It's my Attraction Marketing Bootcamp. If you want access to that, you could either comment info, or if you're watching this on a replay or on YouTube, I'll have it linked either in the comments or in the description of the video. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video here. Hopefully you got value, and take care. And also, Happy New Year! Happy New Year's Eve and New Year tomorrow or whenever you're watching this. But anyways, take care and Happy New Year.